Alright, so next on the BRB guide, I wanted to do Midtown. So this map is the newest map in the game, and I've actually found some pretty alright spots you can do, especially on defense, not so much on attack. But the first one is the first point. So before the payload is even pushed, I usually like to rush out of spawn and try to go up here. One of the better locations to put one is in this little corner here. You would be surprised how few people actually take this flanking route at the beginning of the match. And putting it like deep into this corner means that if someone dies during the initial defense of the push, they can come right back and don't have to walk the full way. Another spot is obviously back in here. You can put it behind this little vending machine. No one really goes here. I would not recommend putting it anywhere up here. A lot of people try to take this high ground as soon as they can, on this side in particular, so they can get the site there and get the flank through that way. Once the payload gets pushed to about here, back in this bookstore is usually a good spot. Throwing one back down here can get most of the site again, and a lot of people, even the flankers again, don't usually go through here. If they do, putting one behind over here in this corner right there is also a good spot. A lot of people don't see, and again, we'll get most of the site as long as they're pushed up to about where the payload is now. If you're getting majorly pushed, putting one here is usually not worth it because the spawn room is right there. But again, if you need the quick res, you can always just put it behind this ambulance here. A lot of people don't play too far back here, but so it won't get shot randomly by a stray or something, but that can be good as well. Once we get here is where things get a little bit more interesting. This spot up here is my favorite BRB spot at the moment. You can either put it in this corner, where they won't really see it unless they push fully in, or you can put it in this corner, it doesn't really matter. And this works on both attack and defense. A lot of people don't really go into this location, and it can give you very good control if someone dies. You can put it underneath as well. A lot of people don't really go into the underneath part, but yeah, again, there's this section here that leads right here. I would never recommend putting it up here, and the reason being is this geometry does change when the payload pushes up some, and it will destroy the BRB. Obviously, you can put it in the spawn room over here. That being said, this spawn room, unlike a lot of them, people do go in through for a flank route and to run away. Another place you can put it is obviously in this room back here, because your spawn is up on that hill and it's quite a long walk. So putting it here can be nice so your team can do that. You can do the same on the left side. I wouldn't recommend it too much on this side because the health pack is here and some people do come in here to get that. You can also put it in this back room here. It's a little bit closer than your spawn is. So that can be slightly more useful for your team to help them hold the push on the payload. But again, if you can get it back in that little corner, that is your best location for this site. Now, once the payload pushes up a little bit more and you start to get the high grounds, you're going to get pushed back a lot. Now, their spawn moves to here, even though the payload is down there. So that does need to be noted. Realistically, there's not too many good spots on this. It is a final hold, so typically rocket isn't the best choice anyways. But putting it back in here can be good if the payload isn't pushed up too far yet. Putting it in this bookstore is also very good, but a spot I usually typically do is over here on the left, on top of this. And the reason why is because while people do flank on this side, they tend to try to take the high ground and not the low. And it can be seen through the window, but it can't be shot. Also, another spot is over here in this corner. Again, it's faster than waiting on the respawn from the beginning part. So that should be noted. Otherwise, putting it up here on the high ground, again, while a lot of flankers do take it, putting it here can help your team try to keep and hold the high ground a bit, but not always the best option. Now, on attack, as always, it's a little bit dependent on where the payload is, but once the spawn room comes out, something I like to do is try to get this high ground as fast as you can. Once you see it's clear, whether you clear it or your teammate does, throw one here. This is a decent spot, as a lot of people, once the high ground is claimed, can't really get back here, and it gives them a much faster route and the high ground. That's the key thing with this beacon in particular, is it gives them the high ground immediately when they come back. Once the payload pushes up, this is usually where you want to try to keep it. as best you can. Once the payload pushes up past here, it's the same thing as it was on the defense side, which is going to be a common theme on this map. Try to get into this bookstore and try to hold it. The difference here is you want to wait for the payload to get to about right here, past this window. And once it is, you can kind of throw it back back here where it's a little bit more protected, or maybe even over here where it's slightly more protected. That way they can't just shoot it out during the team fight. Because the angle they have on this, they have to literally push all the way around to be able to shoot it. Once the payload pushes up back here, something I like to do if we have them pushed into there is to try to put one on this spot for the health pack, or even try to just put it back here in this tree. This one is in the open and can be shot, but it's often not seen just because of how out of the way it is, and how you kind of have to have a decent line of sight on it, because you have to push past this. You have to see it as you're walking up, and usually they're too occupied with the fight going on. Once the payload pushes in here, same thing I like to do. I don't actually like to put a res beacon because the respawn is so close. I like to try to wait until we're pushed out more and then put it up here like we did on the defensive side. So again, it's usually better to do it in the opposing corner. So try to put it into this corner when you're on attack, so they won't see it as soon. Because if it's on that side, oftentimes they can see it. However, this mausoleum thingy will keep it safe. Now again, this will move, so try not to put it in the center or anything like that. Once the payload is pushed up to about here, you kind of run out of options as much. However, putting it in the spawn room is never a bad idea as well. It is a little bit closer to the action. Trying to get down here and put a cheeky one in this corner can sometimes work out. Depends realistically on what the opposing side is doing. If they're not going for this health pack, a lot of times putting it here is a good idea. And then obviously in this room too, I don't recommend this because a lot of people do play in this room on the attacking side, not so much the defense side. And obviously over here is never the best idea because the spawn room is right there. But honestly, too many people don't really go in this location, so it can be a good idea to place it there. But for the most part, you kind of just want to do that and then over here, and those are your real options on this site. Now, once we get here is when things get a tiny bit more interesting, but not too much. Much like on the defensive side, there is not too many options on this part of the map. I tried to put one behind this ambulance at the beginning. Your spawn is over there and it's decently close, but putting it by this ambulance again does save your team some time if someone does happen to get picked off. Back here is another good spot because they have to shoot the top of the res to actually activate or to get rid of it. So from here, there's really nowhere they can shoot it unless they take the high ground or push up immensely to try and shoot it. Once the payload pushes to about here, your best bet is just kind of putting it on the high ground. I try to put it on this side, typically. Now, the geometry here does move. This should be noted. So putting it like more on the right side here until the building is destroyed is usually the best play. Once the geometry changes, though, the BRBs kind of just become more generic, and you can kind of just place them behind your team. Again, in this bookshop is a good spot. Where this health pack is a good spot. They can't shoot it through the grate. And that's really it in what you want to be doing. And that's really all I found for Midtown. If there's anything you guys have found, let me know. As always, like and sub. I've got more of these coming, obviously. And more rocket discussion videos, as always. I love y'all. Have a good one, and bye.